You figure it out. Cool. Well, just let our listening audience know that our lineup for today will consist of Donna Rayner at 1:30. She gives an update on her cross country, things that she's got in store. Update on the Crifter, she says. They're going to have a discussion in the next month and a half, something like that, on what the outcome is going to be going forward for 2021 for Crifter Games. Of course, the cross country season has been shortened because of the pandemic.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Also, we'll have Shakira Warner of the August Group talking to us. She's got some interesting topics, which I'm experiencing myself, because you see me all mornings riding, right? And it's dark, but I have my reflectors on the front and the back. And one of her topics and tips that she wants to talk about is be seen, stay alert. What's interesting, people complain about the cyclists, motorcyclists, I'm talking about here, that they ride a little reckless. There is a percentage of it. Well, I'm here to say drivers and truck drivers, they're just as bad. Right? They want to ride right up on your rear tire. Right? Because you're not going fast enough for them, right?
Yes.
And funny enough, when they overtake you, and I'm not lying, and about 3 to 4 minutes later, not probably even less, they're turned off somewhere. Interesting, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Safe. They ain't worry about safety.
Well, because they only worry about themselves.
There you go. Yeah. And tight corners like on the Harbor Road.
Sure.
You know?
Cut you off too.
Yeah.
Where you have to brake or slow down.
Exactly. So what I try to do now is look at the license plate.
Oh, okay.
Take the number.
You have to stop and write down a lot of times, man, because there's a lot of people that do it, eh?
What? Ride reckless?
Yeah.
There's a percentage, yeah. I'll be honest. There is a percentage, but not everyone, but there are some that you just like, why? Right? I was riding into the gym yesterday morning, and I was going over Middle Road by Belmont.
Right.
And the hill. And I can tell that someone's behind you. They're trying to overtake,
right?
And when they made the move, I'm like, oh, you're kind of close to me. What they did? They got a horse and buggy trail on the back. So instead of waiting to get a clearance, they always want to overtake.
Yeah.
But they got a horse and buggy in the back. So instead of in the truck, why they couldn't, because the why was oncoming traffic.
Right.
I was like, yo.
And this trailer's wide.
And they're wide, right? And they got a horse in it.
Go over the line.
Yeah. And they got a horse in it. I'm like, you couldn't wait?
Impatient.
Anyway, in addition to that, we're going to have Mr. Ross Caesar in studio join us today. Give us an update on the event that's been canceled in December, the bodybuilding show that they had last year at the Sea Bridge.
Yep.
The event's going to be canceled actually. No secret behind why.
Yeah.
Right.
It just got approved 2 months ago.
Right.
And now it's being postponed.
Yeah.
Which the guidelines in which, I mean, I guess we'll talk about it more, but it was, that event is done inside with a whole host of people coming
from various countries.
Yeah. It makes it that much more difficult to pull it off, where other events are being put on where foreign people are coming in, but most of those, if not all of them, are outdoors, and and it's a very spacious areas. But this is confined indoors, and it requires people to be up close and personal to each other.
And not only that, but with the numbers, meaning fans and spectators come out because of COVID-19, being indoors as opposed to outdoors. So Ross Caesar, names, man, excuse me. Ross Caesar and Dion Smith just joined us quarter to 2 today. So that's all
it's not quite 117 yet.
No, it's not.
It's going 117. So yeah.
I heard you got a ride in.
Oh yeah. And yes, and he pressing to me to ease you up.
Yeah, I saw him yesterday. He goes, man, I saw your boy. I was like, your boy. He's stinking. Hey, Earl. I said, hey, Earl, man, why don't you ease up on him,
Ease
man?
him up,
I said, no, man. I said, Earl's had his joy. Trust me, I plug him, and he knows it's coming. So no, he's easing up. As you gotta understand, Earl don't have an EPL team like you do, man, the gentleman I was talking about.
Yeah, I know. Right? I know exactly what you're talking about,
right? Because I don't want to tease him about his team, because I know he's listening right now, right?
They got hit over the boundary for 6. And you got hit over the boundary for a no ball and a 6. So you gave up 7, he gave up 6.
But, my reply to that is 9-3.
Well.
And he says, yeah, you're right, can't beat that.
Okay.
Right, 9-3. And then I said, you got to understand, Earl don't have a team.
Yeah.
So to me, it don't make no difference what he says. It's just in one or the other. I said, I flug him. Trust me. I'm going to flug him. And he knows it's coming. Right? He is. That's what I am. But thanks for looking out for me.
Yeah, man.
That's what I do. Thanks for looking out for me. He's a good lad. He's a good lad.
Yeah.
He's a good man. So it's coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah.
So how was your weekend, mate?
Quite busy, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Quite busy. Plenty of sporting events went on this particular weekend. They had the Renaissance swim yesterday.
Yeah.
We've had archery. We had FA Cup football. We had Premier Division football.
Not to cut you off.
Yeah.
What is the numbers that's supposed to be at football games?
Each field has different
Numbers?
numbers, yes, because of the space and the layouts.
So what's the average?
200 is the lowest, 375 is the highest.
Okay. I went by a particular location yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
This was early. I mean, late. Must have been a doubleheader at this
Yeah, it
location.
was a doubleheader. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It was packed early.
Yes.
And it was packed after.
Mm-hmm.
That were in 300 in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and they ran the 300 in the end. So I have to ask, what's the criteria behind that? I don't have to
That
speak to the president of the VFA. Ask.
Well, no, the onus has to fall on the club itself.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's more than 600 people at that game, mate. Let's be real.
Well, then the club would have to answer the health precautions for that.
Yeah.
There's requirements that they have to meet.
Of course.
And
this is health and safety.
And if the health department and or the police would have made, the health department would have made their pilgrimage there,
right,
and would have seen that they were not carrying out the duties that were required, meaning over the limit of people, then it would be dealt with. And I'm not saying that it can't be dealt with later, because I don't know all the rules.
Yeah.
So if hypothetically, they got a report that it was X amount of people, they can actually go and investigate, and if they find that, then actually the club could be fined.
Yeah.
So that's the risk of being allowed to have an event, but you have to follow those guidelines.
For sure. So you do.
Yeah.
But it was quite heavy. I'm not big on numbers. I'm just saying I think there was 600. It was a lot.
Right.
There was a lot of people. Right?
Yeah.
It looked like an old football game.
Oh, okay.
That's of the 80s.
Well, the thing is, you had three particular teams that have large followings.
Exactly.
And
at one venue.
Which would create a problem. I know early in cricket, when they first got there, when they had their 150, they got to that quota and couldn't allow any more people into the grounds, which created a bit of a little something at the beginning. But as the season went on, the numbers got increased, and you didn't see as much. So people knew if they couldn't get there early, then they weren't going to go.
Right.
But obviously, now that you've changed the sport and we've gotten into football, there's another challenge. So obviously, that has to be worked out by the particular, because it comes down to the club. The clubs run the games on Sundays.
Protocols are in place.
And
they're set forth by the government.
Yeah. So
and the BFA has informed all the clubs about it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it should be very interesting this week if that matter does come up and how it's handled.
Right.
No, I wouldn't want to see football having to stop.
No, hope not.
But
I believe
there's rules and guidelines that we have to follow.
I believe in warning.
Yeah.
And then obviously penalties after that, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's quite heavy.
I heard the same thing.
It was quite heavy on the outside as well. It wasn't just on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was heavy. So wow. That was Southampton Rangers.
Yeah.
Right. So let's make it very clear.
And I believe they have
favorite.
I believe they have a 200 limit.
200.
I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just say there are 2 people per car. There were 75 on the bank, near the bank.
Yes.
Right. 7,500 cars there. Easy. So it happens. So hey, dog, question for you. Put you on the spot.
Okay.
Now that my Lakers won last night, right?
Uh-huh.
You think Trump called to congratulate the Lakers and
Oh,
LeBron
no,
James?
listen.
No, we know they're not going to the White House. I'm throwing it back
That's the
at you.
first
You know
thing
what
I
I'm saying?
said.
You think Trump's going to call to congratulate him?
The friend's got COVID, man. He can't use that friend, yeah. The friend's coughing. No, I can't make that call.
Yeah.
No way.
No way. I don't think he'll accept the call.
Well, the funny
James
thing
would
is,
be like,
I would wonder if the vice president would be man enough to do it.
can I answer that for you now?
Yeah.
No. No, it ain't happening.
I would think he would do it to soften the blow.
It won't. It won't.
Yeah. I wouldn't call on behalf of my boss. I would be calling to say congratulations on me, for myself. But yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's follow the leader.
Yeah, in that case.
Okay.
Wow. Is he a leader?
Well, he was elected to be the leader of the.
As he calls commander in chief, right?
Yeah.
Commander
I just know that he is a record setter of getting rid of COVID in the least amount of time ever in this entire pandemic. So whatever they gave him, listen, put it on the shelf, because it would obviously you've had all these deaths in the U.S. and somehow miraculously he has it on a Thursday, and by Saturday he's free and clear. So he says.
Right, and you notice they still haven't announced or informed the world when he was last tested negative
right
or positive.
Well, they did come out and say he's clear now, but they haven't admitted whether or not he's positive, negative, or whatever. They said he's clear of all these symptoms. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
They must have come down here and got some salt water in there too.
Trust me.
Negative result, right?
Imagine if he came down and gave salt water. Be able to put something in that water.
Oh.
I would.
The problem we have to all remember one thing. It's rules for him and other rules for everybody else. So you heard him claim he's not going to have a debate via internet because they can cut off his mic at any time. So he can't rant, rave, and behave as he did in the first one. So he's not gonna really be willing to do that. Well, now they have the guidelines to do so. Yeah. But he won't stop. He'll keep talking.
Very quickly.
All I gotta do is
because they're gonna be separated. The only other one close by would be
the moderator. Yeah. Well, all they'll do is basically put him inside a glass, a sound booth. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cut the mic off. Yeah. You want to fall down on the carpet? Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, look, let's take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll speak to Donna Rayner, the president of the Bermuda National Athletic Association. We'll be back after this. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Just want to make sure that Donna Rayner is there. Good afternoon to you on the phone. Good afternoon, Donna. Oh, loud and clear. Wow. And Earl Basin's here too.
Hello, Ms. Rena. I hope you enjoyed helping to celebrate your husband's birthday yesterday.
A wonderful celebration. Thank you very much.
And also, congratulations to your father for being awarded the Queen Certificate.
Yes, I'm quite proud that I teased him though. I said to him, I said, yo, you're always trying to follow me, do everything that I do. I said, I'm the younger, you're the elder, but we have a joke about trophies and so on and so forth. So interesting.
Yeah.
You know he could beat you like a drum, right?
You got it.
and and I'm sure he can beat you in the 400 still to this day.
Exactly. Probably. You're probably correct.
Well, that's good. Well, look, just enlighten us on what's happening with cross country. We had previously spoken last week, you and I, and you're saying that the event has scaled back, obviously, to the pandemic. What's the season been like for the cross country season, and then what's going forth with the Crifter Games? I know you got some meetings coming up later, last quarter of this year.
Yes. Well, we have started the cross country season. We have had to dumb it down some. We usually have six events for our cross country season, whereas with this year we're only going to have part of the reason is of course COVID, and the other reason is that we only wanted to have the event in large spaces. So we had the Arboretum, um, botanical gardens, and national parks. So those places that we're hosting the cross country event. So we had our very first one 2 weeks ago, and that was at the Arboretum. It was well attended. We had about 69 um, participants. We had, we had the BNAA had already sent out some COVID-19 guidelines for cross country. Which included all officials had to have masks on, spectators had to have on masks, when they came to pick up the numbers because they only could register online. So when they came to pick up the numbers, they had to have masks on, and we also did temperature checks. So we used the first one at the Arboretum as a test run, and that went very well. Then we had our second one this weekend at Astral Park. We were given exemption by government, National Minister of National Security and Mr. Linda Rayner. They gave us permission and exemption for 150 participants for this weekend and for the remaining cross country. So we had probably around 100 competitors this weekend. So we've had a good turnout. I'm pleased to say that we've had a lot of the older athletes that usually run, run races, they've come out and participated. So that's been good because not all the time do they come to cross country because they have road races, but now they don't have very many road races. They're coming and participating in the cross country. And so we have two more left, November 7th and December 5th.
The the one on Saturday was well attended. Also had some new names pop up in the men's open division. Looks like it might get exciting if we can get a race season up and running.
But the interesting thing, Earl, is that those two visitors. All the guys, Sean and some of the other guys, talked to the gentlemen after the race, and they were visiting Bermuda, and they heard that they were having, we were having a cross country event, so they called up Mr. Rayner, who's the pretty much the director of the cross country, and asked them could they sign up, and he gave them the website, and they signed up, and as you saw, they participated quite well. But I don't think they're here for that long. They were only visiting. So I don't think they're going to challenge in any of the other events on that sustained, zone. But right now, they said they were only visiting for, I think, like a week or 2 weeks.
Okay, well, hopefully they're around in 2 weeks to do that November 7th one and have another fun run at it.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, they enjoyed it. They thought the course was well done. They thought the event itself was very well organized. So they were quite impressed. We also had a female that had contacted me for the first cross country at the Arboretum, and she participated. And she said to me after, she said, "I really enjoyed this. This was so very well organized." So, we've had some good comments from our visitors, which again, hopefully we're helping tourism as well.
Definitely, definitely. What I found of that particular course, in talking to a few people, um, was very technical, challenging at times because you run up a hill and then you're off a valley and then you're back up a hill, and they really laid it out where it became a very challenging one for everyone. So those that were able to dig a little deeper were actually rewarded.
Yes, and I think that that is what cross country is supposed to be about. I remember, we ran cross country, we were on the golf course, and
Hmm.
I also will never ever forget my cross country experience because we used to have to run through the Devonshire Marsh, and
Hmm.
days when it was raining, it was really really horrible. But that's all about a challenge. It's all about getting you mentally ready, getting you physically ready, and that's what cross country is supposed to be. So whenever Wayne Bean from DNA, whenever he puts on the cross country, it's always a challenging course. So I always look forward to, okay, what type of course has Wayne come up with, for this year? Because last year we did at the town, and so we had the championships, and he had them running, here, there, and everywhere. But that's what cross country is supposed to be about. And, I think the athletes look forward to that challenge.
Rena, what's
Yeah.
it been like for you overall for the season? It's been a challenging one for all administrators in all our local sports. But in your sport, it's had its highs and lows, and it was big anticipation with the Crifter Games being held this year. Obviously, COVID-19 had a major impact throughout the world with that. So, with you, what's it been like you for the summer, and now you're going into the fall season, and hopefully you want to see what's going to be like for the future for 2021.
The interest in being in, to tell you the truth, this has been a very, very busy season for us in athletics. Um, Even though we didn't have athletes participating in events, what the World Athletics and our NACAC area took the opportunity to do is to put on a lot of workshops. We had a lot of sessions, a lot of seminars. So nearly every Saturday, I've probably been on Zoom calls, and I head up the NACAC Gender Leadership working group as well. So we've had to put together a lot of presentations. We've had great attendance. Most of these workshops that we've had like over 100 people participate. So they've had a lot of technical courses this year that they've run, for coaches, for officials. So we have had a busy summer. World Athletics have been putting on information sessions every Wednesday, and so that's been me getting up like 7 o'clock every Wednesday morning for 1 to 2 hour session. So they have kept us very, very, very busy. They started a lot of commissions. As you know, I'm on the commission. So we've had several meetings throughout the summer, talking about, some of the things that we have talked about are competitions, how are we going to handle our competitions, which is what assisted me in putting together the COVID guidelines, because we had a session on guidelines for cross-country racing and track events. So in reality, this has probably been one of my busiest summers than what I normally have because of all of these workshops and sessions that we've had to do. But as you know, as far as competitions are concerned, we started to put on a couple of mini meets. We have one on Saturday as well in the afternoon. So we've been very busy. As I said, I've probably been more busy this summer than I've ever been with athletics.
It's interesting that she spent more time in Zoom as opposed to catching flights. We know why,
Right,
but
right.
it seems like she spent numerous hours on the Zoom line because of COVID-19.
Yeah, I think it has been an opportunity for all administrations to get leaders around the world together to go over some of the things they never really have a chance to do outside of a meeting because they're generally in for a meeting, it's only that topic, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
Where now this time out of competition has allowed them to get down to some of the details that even the smaller countries need to deal with and
Mm-hmm.
have their voices heard and be allowed to get the help that's needed. And obviously, with these seminars that are going on, they're aimed at somebody's going to get something out of it that they would have missed some time ago.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to say to you, because I did listen to one of your interviews, right now, there are several athlete commissions. The Bermuda Olympic Association has an athlete commission.
Hmm.
The NACAC commissions are being formed for is so that when rules are being made, and I'm going back to an interview that you had earlier, and if I could have called in, I would have.
Mhm.
They're involving athletes to assist with some of these decisions that are being made on different events. The way different events are being held and so on and so forth. So a comment that was made, we need athletes around the table. There are being athletes are being part of these decisions. On the World Athletics, the head of the Athletes Commission now sits on the World Athletics table. So when these things are discussed, they go back to the Athletes Commission and discuss, and they come up with whatever, and then that goes back to the World Athletics Commission. So they're trying to make everything inclusive so that decisions are not made standalone and they're not made just for the media or they're not made just for TV time, but they're also taking into account things that are going to be helpful for the athletes, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to put that out there because I listened very closely to the interview that you had, and that we are now creating an athletes commissions in the NACAC area, and I'm trying to get make sure that we have a Bermudian athlete included on that commission. But that athlete has to stand up and say, yes, I'm going to make myself available. So I just want to put that out there.
That very very important because and I've known for a while there's been a lot of athletes commissions out there. I think one of the things that the athletes have to get involved with the commission, like you said, to put their hand up and be accountable, but also make sure that when things are discussed, that they get that information. They have to be pressing that their commission to give them the information so that they can obviously discuss it even further, and then a rational decision can be made.
Exactly. Because I mean, we have, as I said, we're forming the athletes commission. One of the people that I put forward for that, or to at least assist, is Brian Wellman. So he's kind of going in as a consultant, and I've also asked another one of our athletes who you interviewed if they'll be interested in being on the commission. I haven't had a response from them yet. But I'm trying to make sure that any commission, committees, and so on that's happening either with World Athletics or NACAC region, that we have a Bermudian representative on it. So they will come to me and say, okay, Donna, we're having this commission. Who do you think is a good person? As you know, at one point, Arancha was heading up that commission, but she had to step down because she was involved with the investigation with the female athletes and so on and so
Yes.
forth. So she had to step down, but
Mm-hmm.
she had been voted as the lead of that
On that commission.
athletes commission.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, President Coe and at that time President Victor Lopez were very, very impressed with her. So one of the things that I keep trying to do is making sure that any commission or committee that comes up, we have a Bermudian sitting on those committees and commissions around the table.
Right, right. And lastly, any extra updates on the Carifta Games, because I know there's a lot of people buzzing that we'll be down to 6 months if we are to host it. 7 months.
Well, as you know, well, I mean, one of the things that's happened with Bermuda right now is the closing of Southampton Princess, which, as you know, was our main hotel where we were going to be housing all the athletes, officials, and so on and so forth. So right now, we're in the midst of looking for replacement. We're in discussions with the other major hotel.
Right.
And we'll see how that goes because they were interested in housing everyone, but of course I don't believe they have sufficient room. So we're trying to see, number one, if the number of athletes is still going to be the same, as we would have thought for this year, or if those numbers are going to go down. So far, what NACAC has said to me is they're thinking the numbers will be the same. I'm not, we're not sure. Major decisions will be made December. I will be meeting with the president of NACAC and the general secretary, and at that point in time, we will make a solid decision of, how we're going to look at hosting the games. Whether and I think one good thing, and I think I've said it to you before, is that you're having the PGA, they're having spectators. I know football, they're starting to have games at the stadium where they're allowing a certain amount of spectators. So, if Bermuda stays on track, then, the possibility of us being able to have spectators at the stadium, it's becoming more and more a positive.
Yes.
Because there are other events prior to Carissa where, spectators are being included. So, I'm hoping by then we'll be able to say yes, we can have spectators. Of course, the numbers may diminish. As I said to you before, we're trying to see how we can get the athletes in. President France is still looking into seeing if we can have charters to bring the athletes here.
Mhm.
So, similar to basketball, similar to tennis, we have athletes in a bubble. They just stay in that bubble and they go to and from the track, and so on and so forth. So, of course, that's the model that we're looking at right now. But again, we're going to make our final decision in December of exactly what is Carissa going to look like. Are we going to dumb down the amount of athletes that we have? Are we going to keep the same amount? So on and so forth. So, all those things are out there. I mean, one of the main things that we are looking at is some way, somehow, we're gonna host these games.
Mm. Well, I know I'll stop hounding you on that because I know it is challenging because I I probably only think of it one way where you have to think of it in 100 ways because you have to deal with everything, so many obstacles in the way, dealing with so many different agencies to try and pull this off. So I know the decision that will be made in December will not be done lightly in any shape or form.
No, and that's the other thing too, because again, as I said, whenever people talk to me about committee commission, that's why I said to you, they're having this media one. I think it's this coming Saturday,
Mhm.
and the first person I said, oh, you know what, I need to get Earl involved in that because they're making decisions about what the media is even going to look like during COVID. So I think it's very important that we're aware, especially with us getting ready to host Carissa, next year, that we have all those details and we're involved with the process of, agreeing or disagreeing what should be and what shouldn't be. So as I said, whenever anything comes up, first thing comes to my mind, who can I put on that committee, commission, or in that workshop? So I mean, even when they had World Athletics had a road racing, one of the workshops was about road racing, and I contacted, the head of the BTC, Bermuda Triangle Challenge, and I invited him to come on the call so he can hear what, other events are doing and so on and so forth. So, like I said, we've had so much information, and making sure that we're a part of all these information sessions is very, very important to me.
Okay. All right, well, Donna, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to getting more information as it comes out timely wise, and hopefully everything stays on track for the country that we can host that Carifta next year, and obviously we have other cross country meets that are coming up, and our athletes are safe and well and completing this events. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We'll be back with more Inside Sports Talk Radio after these messages from our sponsors.
Inside Sports Talk Radio. Joining us in the studio right now is Mr. Ross Caesar and Mr. Dion Smith, two distinguished gentlemen who's obviously been in the sport of bodybuilding for a number of years. The annual event that was supposed to be held this year in December, for December 5th, is the NCP Worldwide Caribbean Grand Prix held in Bermuda. The pro qualifier, but obviously due to COVID-19, it's not going to happen. Good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just give our listening audience an update. We know why it's not going to take place, but just the disappointment of not having people coming in and being a part of the event for this year. Either one of you can start first.
Well, I can't say. This is Dion Smith. With what we wanted, with the attraction of the pro show, we were looking at a lot more people this year. Some of the difficulties we didn't want to get into, knowing that the disappointment with due to COVID would have caused an issue if potentially we had people coming to Bermuda and they have to quarantine or something goes wrong and someone cannot be in the show at the time due to quarantine issue or something like that.
Right.
So, and we do realize that that can cause an issue.
Right.
So we didn't want anyone to have a problem stating that came to Bermuda, didn't get a chance to perform because of so many reasons, and then the show and Bermuda not look good in anyone's eyes.
Right.
With those, that just looking at that situation amongst everything else, we decided to make the decision to cancel it amongst other things of anyone getting sick.
Right. Because for an athlete, either one can answer this. For an athlete, in this case, for this sport, the event being, say, December 5th, they would have to basically come in to get quarantined, maybe come in like the end of November, correct? And then if you're going to be quarantined for 8 days or so, or whatever, 10 days, whatever, they need to work out, which, your body's going to change in those 8 days. So the competition for that person wouldn't be as stringent as they thought it would be because of going through the quarantine process.
It would have been ideal.
Right.
And I don't think anyone would be able to perform based upon the circumstances. It could be a lot more. I mean, just being quarantined itself. And I think it was important to make that decision and look at potentially having it next year in Bermuda, providing we can potentially have some way to be able to build a format so that people can do the show and potentially avoid any COVID signs or issues that can come up as a result. So,
if the vaccine is not out next year, and I know you guys have the opportunity to host this event, obviously there are going to be protocols put in place. You would know well in advance if this is going to be held again for next year.
well, I think we've already looked at the new year, and I believe that we are going to have it. I'll let Ross speak to that.
Sure.
Yes. Right now, the show has been actually postponed to next year,
Okay.
on December 4th. So hopefully, whether there be, in case we do have a vaccine, yes, that would be good. But we now have a long time to plan ahead and look at the protocols, look at the numbers, and make the right adjustments and plan for next year.
Right,
The full year. The problem this year, we had a large amount of athletes, foreign athletes, that were looking to come to Bermuda because obviously Bermuda looks like a bubble to them, our low amount of cases. So we had a lot, and there were also a lot of pro qualifier shows that were canceled in other regions. So a lot of athletes were looking to come to Bermuda because it looks safe. It looks like a safe place. But for us, we don't want to stand the risk of having so many athletes coming in, right? And then putting Bermuda public, the Bermuda athletes at risk of COVID as well. And also, we were also working with very restricted numbers here in terms of holding events. So,
Yeah. Let me ask this question because I think it's vital because a lot of people only see the end result, which is the show. What does it take to put on an event like this of this magnitude with foreign people, officials need to come to make sure that it's being conducted in the proper manner and all that. So what are you guys doing behind the scenes to pull? Well, that's what did you do behind the scenes to pull off last year's one, which obviously you want to make next year's one even bigger.
Well, a lot of work goes behind the scene promotions. So a lot of our promotions happen in the U.S. and then we'll push it out to Bermuda. A lot of our Bermudian audience are already aware of this show because they're hip to that degree. The U.S. and Canada also is another region, and we found that we had to um, put together a lot more strategic planning to be able to attract quality. Um, so, in regards to trying to get the show out, the marketing, it becomes a lot more when you have to work with some of the other providers that we may use as far as what's some of the I believe like last year we took a longer time in trying to get a lot of the marketing done. And then also within that, we had challenges because we were trying to get a lot of the hotels in Bermuda and stuff like that lined up and the airlines. So in between that, it becomes difficult because pricing is a huge concern. Most of the people that we try to get to, their budgets are set. And when you talk about athletes that are trying to become pros, they don't have large budgets. The difficulty for them, they can do U.S. shows without a problem.
It's our location. Bermuda.
Trying to do Bermuda show is the biggest problem. You can get to Barbados and Bahamas and a lot of those territories more economically than to Bermuda. And that was the difficulty for us trying to get the attraction to be able to bring them here. I believe last year we had about 200 athletes that we attracted from the United States.
So obviously this year you had the event because of what's happened. It unfortunately didn't happen this year. But regarding numbers for athletes, you say 200 last year. What do you think would have been from the international side?
We were
Again
probably
for
looking
this
at
year.
400 and something athletes,
100
and
plus.
that's the athletes, and then most of them come with someone that they're actually going to bring with them.
Wow. Yeah, that was post COVID, you know.
Right.
The interest from last year's show, um, from, a lot of the athletes that came basically sold Bermuda. There were a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff on the internet, a lot of stuff on Instagram. So the feedback was really good um, for coming to Bermuda to compete. You know, outside of the U.S., outside of the bigger jurisdictions, um, being that Bermuda is the uniqueness is it is an island, small island. It's the smallest island to host a pro qualifier. So from last year, the feedback and the interest was very, very um, from after promoting, we had an influx of athletes, not just in the U.S. We had a lot of athletes that were interested from also South America coming here to compete.
Does
Um,
does that make it like a number of 400 athletes? Does that make it more challenging to fulfill a an event? Because obviously it would have to be a little longer.
yes, as the naturally for these pro bodybuilding show, as the quality is good and you're producing a good product. Last year, the product was good. We produced a good show. Once the product is good and the quality of athletes is good, the show tends to grow. The interest tends to automatically grows. So as organizer, we have to make the adjustments. So if the show, so if we knew we are going to have if the numbers from the registration had hit that post, we would know in advance. Well, we may need to extend the show. The organizers and the international judges that do come, they're accustomed dealing with huge numbers, right? So we know in advance, well, we may have to have a 2-day show because we have 100 bikini girls as opposed to 50 last year. You know, that's how it works.
And when you look at that, I know some pro events. Just looking online, sometimes they would do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. A lot of that stuff is done. Um, I think one of your biggest challenges, Ian and I was talking about it when we first started, was the fact that your event is also inside, which creates another major problem for you. Trying to have that many athletes in a closed-in environment, obviously with their health, issues and so forth. But looking at the overall federation, as I see a lot of their posts nowadays, and I saw the one 2 months ago when we were given, to host this year, and then obviously, we're gonna postpone it this year and next year. But they seem to be doing a lot more of getting their message out that eventually there will be shows down the line for the athletes. What are some of the athletes in Bermuda doing to stay kind of current? Because obviously everybody likes to get ready for something, and when you're not got that in your sights, how do you, as a trainer, how do you keep them focused?
Well, basically, um, this whole situation with COVID um, has affected not just the sport of bodybuilding, I'm assuming most sports.
Yes.
So, as an athlete, it comes down to mindset. You have to refocus and focus on what's next. But the truth is, you never stop preparing or prepping for whatever's to come next. So if the show was canceled, you focus most likely for next year. You may say March next year maybe, but then if that doesn't happen, then you have to refocus. The good thing about it that um, time allows you to improve anyway.
And Ross, you and I were talking earlier that yes, it's been a challenging year for your sport. I think what Earl is alluding to basically, yes, you prepare yourself and you guys say yes, you get focused. But in you guys' sport, that's so challenging. One is the nutrition. So you know full well, just say the event is, it was December. Your people start prepping their nutrition like every 6 weeks or so, right? So if an event is held in March, like Earl said, and then you're saying it's postponed because of COVID-19, how do you like really get that person motivated again? Because it's hard to go up and down, and yes, we're up and down. And that's the challenge.
Without a competition.
Without a competition. It's a little different in track and field, it's a little different in swimming or football, right?
But if you look at it, it's still a way of life as well.
Which is true, but not. And I applaud you guys because it's demanded. You guys' sport is demanded, and people don't understand how much hard work there's behind the scenes when you're an athlete. And again, how do you get them focused? How do you keep them there? Because it's not an easy task.
I think the only other way to explain the question would be a lot of things change when you're preparing for an event than when you're just trying to stay in shape. Yes?
Yeah.
So if I start to prepare for an event, my sort of days training changes. Then when that's canceled or postponed, I become deflated. So how, as a trainer, do you then get me back on just training as opposed to getting ready for an event? I think that's the best way to ask that question.
I understand. So what we do is obviously you have to find ways to motivate the person. But it comes down, I mean, motivation will only take you so far. It's about discipline, right? If you have disciplined athletes, they have the ability. The best athletes are the most disciplined. If you have a disciplined athlete, they can adjust to a new eating platform. So we go from show prep to off season right away because there's no shows now. So we go to all season, and the motivation there's look, we have time to improve on this and that, and to grow. Everything happened for a reason. Let's focus on making more improvements. So when the opportunity does arise, you're more than ready. So we go into all season, but it comes down to discipline.
Right. Well, how did you handle it? Because obviously you're getting calls and messages from the people you train, but you also have your own thing going on as well. So how did you handle that?
Basically, the same way I did got a lot of calls from, especially from the local athletes, and I just very straightforward and honest and explain to them this is the situation. I mean, had one particular guy. I know he was ready. He was more than ready. I saw him, But I mean, me personally, I was disappointed because I know how hard some of the athletes here in Bermuda were preparing for this year. But safety first.
Yeah.
We had to make a call and do what's right for everybody. But hopefully, so the athletes here will kind of refocus and just stay steadfast, and hopefully next year the opportunity arises again.
And same can be said for the organizers. Well, both of you organizers, right? So it's challenging for you to start all over again, put it all in place. Yes, you want those numbers to be 400 again for 2021, but it's not an easy task.
Yeah, but I look at it from the perspective of being strategic.
Okay.
Gives us more time to redevelop, especially if we have the right people working with us, government, associations, whatever's necessary, because this is not just about us.
No.
It's also about our country, our people, the development of them. When you look at someone that does the bodybuilding show, they are able to turn a pro, become a pro. Become a pro gives each individual a lot more options, opportunities in life. So I think that's important. And I think if we're strategic, if we are, I believe that by next year, we can probably have a far better product, putting it out, and also here in Bermuda. As you know, some of the other difficulties is not having a superdome or a large venue that you can actually have many thousands of people to be able to enjoy a lot of the sporting event. But I think we're trying to look at some different ideas that may be unique to Bermuda as well, that may allow us to be able to have a little bit of the outside space at the same time with inside to be able to kind of.
So you're saying something, just to put it out there, so I see where you're going with this. Hosting an event like, say, the Northern Field under an open tent or something of that sort?
Similar to that.
Similar to that.
But
sexy.
We definitely want to increase the sex appeal on that,
Right.
just because to me it's going to be important. We're still selling Bermuda.
Right.
So with that product, we want to make it so that whoever comes, they're not just, even though they're coming for the show, they have all the other attractions of Bermuda right in front of them.
Right. So it'll be interesting to host it at the Northern Field International Stadium under as they call it, the bubble, right? Say tent, a bubble. And
Man, we're getting up Ocean Bay, man.
Ocean
Ocean in your backdrop. Ocean backdrop.
All right. Obviously, that testing or judgment will be done during the day, not the evening time, right?
Oh, man.
Oh.
A few spotlights.
Spotlights.
Put a stage up.
Okay. All right.
The ocean there, good.
You gotta hire this guy for your production team.
Let me ask this question because it's kind of important. That was December you guys' choice, or was what was available to select? And if so, why not earlier in the year or mid-year?
But you think about it, we do have some options to select.
Mm-hmm.
One of the options was for June coming in 2021.
Right.
But remember, when I think about the event, think about Bermuda, it's important to us that we kind of, Bermuda sells itself for June, July, August, and September. Don't want to take away from those events or the events that go during that time.
Mm-hmm.
What we try to be is, again, strategic. And in December, we don't really have a lot of events here in Bermuda. So my thing is also the economics of trying to have hotels that will be more economical during that time.
Especially for athletes.
Athletes, and it'll also keep Bermuda a little busy during the few days that we actually have the event. Then you can still occupy taxis and hotels and stuff like that. And I think to me it's kind of you have to see it from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. So if you have 400 plus athletes next year, you're gonna house all these athletes because there's no Southampton Princess.
December would sort itself out. I think that's what he was just saying.
December
kind of makes it a little more interesting to those places that will be viable. So yeah.
Interesting.
What do you think? What do you think was the big attraction for the people who did not take part last year that now are very interested in coming to Bermuda?
It's, it's, it's a lot of feedback. We got a lot of good feedback from most of the athletes. I'd say like 90 or even more than 90% of the athletes that came last year had never been to Bermuda. So it's not just the show, it's the pictures, just
The
people,
ambience, everything.
the service, everything, the atmosphere, to show the friendliness. So we got a lot of positive feedback. So those athletes went back and basically sold the show for us verbally. So that's been,
and you can see it on Instagram. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go on Instagram and just type it in, um, Caribbean Grand Prix, you would see what people love from it. They love the personalities, how everyone is just really genuinely nice. And I think a lot of people are surprised by our hospitality, which is a lot different in other areas. So I think, you know, Bermuda has always had that.
Yeah.
And Bermuda.
Yeah. When you look at the categories, because obviously with so many, we use the numbers from last year in spacing out categories. Do you guys determine what the categories are when you're putting on the show, and then invite or then open it up, or Grand Prix have all the categories open and then you decide later if the numbers are viable? How does that work?
Well,
the platform is there. The NPC, the Grand Prix itself, they have all the categories open. So the whole idea is allowed to as many athletes to compete and express themselves as possible. So therefore we have like masters categories, novice categories. So that really opens the door for say a person that just want to compete for the first time can still compete in the Grand Prix without worrying about going up against a guy that was probably competing for 20 years. So it allows you're basically try to be more inclusive,
Right?
Because
Okay.
the sport has grown. It's not just bodybuilding. We have bikini. Now we have bikini wellness pros. We were going to actually offer bikini wellness pro card this year. In our show last year we didn't. We had bikini wellness, but there weren't no pro cards offered.
Is there anything you guys like to add that we did not ask?
really, I think we just know that everyone's been disappointed, and it is our hope that next year we can make it up to everyone, just in Bermuda, worldwide.
Right. From this interview here, what I did pick up, which was good, and you guys talked about it, is obviously host this event outside. Again, if the numbers are there, 400 plus, it seems like you're going to move this event outside.
We a quasi sort of inside outside sort of thing.
Okay.
We're just trying to work on the possibilities, because the whole point is being able to have it with the amount of people that we would like to have
Participate.
to make sure that the event can grow that type of persons.
Also, there are a lot of shows. There's still some shows going on, mostly in the U.S.
Yeah.
So I mean, during we are washing and stuff, and trying to go with the best idea, the best platform that will be suitable for Bermuda here, but also unique. We want to stand out, so when people do come here, they're remembered. Just you don't want it to be another show. You want it to be like, oh, we want to create that wow factor, not just the competition, but we want to sell more, bigger product basically.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today on Inside Sports. I know you guys have a busy schedule, so again, we appreciate you joining us and keep us up to date. And we wish you all the best in 2021. And of course, we'd love to share information once you make your decisions going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be back after this. And welcome back. On the phone with us right now is Shakira Warren, Vice President, Population of Health Specialist for the August Group. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday to you. She's lively as
Oh yeah,
Ivy, right?
yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
You got good spirit.
We should start this show about 7:30 in the morning because if it's coming on like that, that's your inspiration to get up and get moving.
What do you think about that, Shakira?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes people feel a little bit of a lull around 2:30, so maybe they need a little pep up.
Okay, a good point. Good point. Good
We'll
point.
take that.
We'll
Yeah.
take that answer. So today's topic, we're going to cover the topic of road safety tips for walkers, runners, and cyclists. This is the time where you see numerous people make their way still on the road early mornings and evenings because the weather's cooler now, and they say, I want to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've noticed, and Earl and I were talking about it earlier, that I'm out mornings in the dark. Yes, excuse me, I have my lights on and the front, back, and the front and the back bike. Even I'm out cycling or walking or running, but people just don't take their time if they're driving or riding bikes, motorbikes.
Yeah, that is a factor, and I think, as you said, we're getting into the cooler months. You're going to see more people out on the roads using it for recreation because it's not as hot. But yes, we just ask that people just take care, caution, and courtesy while on the roads because you're going to be seeing more cyclists, going to be seeing more walkers and runners. So we just want to remind the community that, just to take care out there. And while today I'm not speaking specifically from a motorist perspective, I am going to be speaking to individuals who are going to be walking, running, or cycling and on the main road. So, as the days, also not only is it getting cooler, but the days are getting shorter. So in the mornings and in the evenings, it is darker. So that means that there's reduced visibility for everyone. So I just want to share a couple of safety reminders so that while you're getting fit, you don't get hit on the road. So the first thing I want to say is related to visibility, it is getting darker, so make sure that you see and are seen. So if you're running or walking, you should absolutely face the traffic, i.e. you want to be on the right side of the road. Whereas if you're cycling, you should go with the flow of traffic. So, for example, on the left side of the road with traffic. Choose high visibility or bright colored clothing, preferably with something reflective on it. Along the kind of athletic wear already has reflective strips, but you might need something additional. And I just have to say that although black is a slimming color and might be the kind of number one choice for your workout gear, it's really not the best for visibility, especially when it's getting a bit dark outside. So make sure that you're wearing very bright, neon, even colored clothing with some reflective bits on it. Also, you can opt to wear an exercise vest. Some people prefer just to wear bright colored clothing. Also, another tip: certainly wear or carry with you a blinking LED light. If you're a cyclist, make sure that you have these attached to both the front and back of your bike. I've also seen people who have an additional blinker on their helmet, just so they've got it in two positions, so that people in front of them or behind them can see them. Another kind of thing related to visibility and being seen is don't assume that motorists can see you if you're walking, running, or cycling on the road. We know how windy and how hilly it is here, so if you are on a hill or a blind corner, you may actually need to switch sides during these tricky areas, particularly if you are walking or running. And that's just to be safe because, your visibility might be obstructed or the motorist visibility might be obstructed on a hill or around a corner. So make sure that in the tricky areas and kind of knowing those areas, make sure perhaps switch sides if that's the safest option, and then make sure that you switch back when you get out of that tricky area.
Well, it's interesting. Those are some valid points that you put there because all what you said, what Earl and I were talking about was about being in black, and there's so many people, male and female, that were black in the dark, and they have no reflectors on. They may have it on the reflection of their sneakers. You know how these sneakers
When
nowadays,
the light hits it,
the
yeah.
light hits the light and so forth. But they want to put on the black because, like you said, they want to look slimmer. You don't want to always look like you just go and train. That's what I was taught. That's how you do it. But I just don't understand why people wear black instead of, like you said, having a reflector on, having bright colors. It's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and to be honest, you made the good point about people having reflectors on their sneakers. Like, people are not looking at that level when they're driving. They're looking straight ahead. So you want to have something that's going to be at, where you assume to be the motorist eye level. So that would be, the front of your shirt, if you're walking or running because you're facing them, remember? So having something that is bright, that's loud even, and also making sure that you've got those blinkers kind of blinking armband or something that'll alert them or that's visible or that will catch their attention. So, wearing black, it's probably not the best or it isn't the best, color of choice when you're going to be out on the road, especially in the morning and especially in the evening when, visibility isn't as great anyway.
And you're absolutely right. So we have to be cautious, like you said, morning or evening. And so your points again are very, very important because a lot of people just don't take advantage of being safe and sorry. Then when something happens, they're like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Oh, how come that person didn't see me?
Right.
All right.
I mean, everyone has to be cautious, especially walking on the roads, because they're not always the most user friendly roads as it is because of the narrowness and when you don't have a sidewalk and so forth. So I think what people need to do is just have a plan of where they're going to walk, when they're going to walk it, or run it, or even ride it, and then lay out your stuff the night before. Because I think a lot of people just get up without even thinking to put on a white top or a light top that's going to be reflective. They just get up, put on whatever they pick out, and just go because they're not planning ahead kind of thing. So
Right.
that's the ones that have to be. But if you're riding a bike and it already has the reflectors on it, just stick them in and away you go. And then that's like pre-planning of sorts.
Make a good point, and the best way to avoid accidents is to, as best as you can, accidents do happen, but to do everything that you can to, be safe. And actually, that kind of leads into another point is, a lot of times when you're kind of on the road, or if you're driving, you see runners and walkers with headphones in, and that's something that wouldn't exactly recommend because if you are on the road, just like if you're driving or riding, you need your sense of hearing to to operate on the road defensively. So if you're on a blind corner or a hill, you can tell if something's coming, in front of you or from behind. And when you have your headphones in with your music blaring, you kind of lose that element. So you're just kind of relying on visual cues. So one thing I would have to say is, if you absolutely have to have music, have the volume on low and just have one earbud in. But the key thing is being able to hear your surroundings and kind of gauge, when traffic is coming past you. Just another element of safety which people don't really think about is, um, you know, let people know if you're going out on the road. So if you're going out for a ride or if you're going out for a walk or a run and you know that you're going to be on the main road at some point, just let members of your household or a friend know that you're going out and when you can expect to be back. And of course, it's always a good idea to carry some form of ID on you, like your driver's license, just in case something happens.
That's
And another kind of thing to point out is just the road environment itself. So knowing those high risk areas such as concealed entrances or frequent accident spots and just taking care of those areas. And of course, if you notice that any road damage, obstructions, or plant overgrowth are making the road unsafe for both you, kind of exercising as well as drivers, you should certainly contact the Ministry of Public Works to make them aware that it is creating some dangerous driving conditions.
okay. Before we will take a commercial break, because we have one or two more questions for you. So stay on the line. Give me 30 seconds, and we'll be back in 35 seconds after this. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio with Shakir Warner. Shakir, just before we wrap up, again, those points are very valid. One thing that is very good going forward, in 2 weeks' time, the clock goes back. So mornings will be more light, but obviously in the evening they will be darker earlier. We have to be just as cautious in the evening as it is in the morning.
Yeah, so another element of this is, gauging the best times to, to be on the road if you are exercising. So we know that the worst times to generally to walk, run, or cycle on the road is during rush hour. There's a lot going on in terms of people trying to get to where they need to be, perhaps speeding, overtaking. It just creates a risky environment when you add something or someone slower in the mix. Um, so try to avoid rush hours as best as you can. However, we do understand that people, they exercise for transport, so they might cycle to work or walk to work or run to work. And here are some additional tips, particularly for those individuals on the road, if they find themselves in traffic, during rush hour. Of course, we encourage people, if you are cycling to and from work or running or walking to and from work, we certainly advocate for you to leave home early so that you kind of miss the rush hour, and then perhaps either see if you can leave work a little bit early, or if that's not possible, leave work a little bit later so that you're missing that rush hour traffic and you do have some space to move on the road. So if you're exercising for transport, here are some things you can do to help out yourself as well as others on the road. So for cycling in particular, just ride in a straight line or in single file. Sometimes, you might be cycling home with a friend and you might want to have a conversation. So cycling side by side, it just doesn't create enough space on the road in the case that someone needs to overtake you. With that being said, also stay on the left side of the lane, not in the middle or close to the center line. So in staying kind of in the left side of the lane, you can give other motorists space to maneuver around you if need be. Another thing which might be kind of common sense, signal for turns and try to avoid blind spots of turning vehicles. And then the final tip is, just help other drivers out by indicating when it is safe for them to pass you. So ideally, no one wants to be overtaking on a blind corner. Sometimes the hills can create diminished visibility. So if you're a cyclist or a runner, and if you can see just a little bit further ahead on the other side of the road, just kind of let the drivers around you know when it is safe for them to pass you, and perhaps tell them when they need to just not pass quite yet.
Cool. I think it's well stated. You gave us some very informative information about road safety tips for training in the morning and evening, and I think it's well stated as I mentioned, and I appreciate that because it's important that we stay alert on this time of year when we're training outside. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. We look forward to having you on in 2 weeks from today. Be safe and sound, and we'll see you in the gym one day.
Great. Take care, guys.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Take care. We'll take another commercial break, and we'll be back after this. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Don't thank Shakir Warner for giving us some very, very valuable information on the safety tips of dealing with the fall season training outdoors, early mornings and early evenings. We take it for granted.
Yeah.
So, we were just discussing during the commercial break the videos that are going around on the social media for the great Clyde Bass, the West Ham man. It's amazing that just that little documentary that's been stated in that video about the success of what he endured and he accomplished in England, the racism, the chanting, and so forth. And yeah, he got the Queen's certificate, but they honor that man because he set a path for the young black athletes of today in all sports in England. And yet he, in the introduction, says a man from the West Indies.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind
Yeah.
of interesting, but it's amazing that they can go back, people like Harry Redknapp and former great players that he had played with, and acknowledge his accomplishments and look at the success he had done and opened the pathway for so many, and basically put a chapter in everyone's life in sports in England and in Europe, right? But here, we can't give that man a knighthood. And, at one time they used to say it was the UBP or the OBA. Well, the BLP is the government of the day.
Right.
Why you can't give this man a knighthood?
Well,
the Queen is the only one that can do that, right?
yes.
No, yeah,
but it has to be put forward.
Put forth, right?
It has to be put
That's what I'm
forward,
talking
but
about.
it's see, this is the problem we have. People only talk about this when the Queen's certificates come out. It should be something we should be talking about prior to that, so he gets nominated, number one, and you put enough pressure on the people that put it forward to ensure that it's done and it's seen through. I've seen politicians make quotes about it on both sides of the fence, but when they're not in the leadership role,
it was quiet.
Right. But here lies the problem. When you were in those positions or your party was in those positions, that should have been something on your agenda to ensure that if the public wasn't going to do it, you were going to do it.
Okay. So, and you're right. So let's just refresh real quickly. Right?
Yeah.
So, the presenters of the knighthood for the application to the government back then was a few distinguished young men in Bermuda, and the cabinet paper went to then Youth and Sport Minister, Mr. Randolph Horton. Right? You had people like Leroy Lewis, Rudolph Mark Lawrence, Carlton Patrick Deal, Alfred Eve, and I think the minister, no, he was the minister, I'm sorry, who was involved in sports was Mr. Brenton Robertson. So right?
Yeah, he was the director of sports.
Right? They put the paper forth to the governor of the day, asked for the knighthood.
Right.
It's 2020.
How long ago was this?
Randy Horton was the minister of sport and the governor of the day, so it was back obviously around 98, between 98 and 2008. Right? Because I remember they served 2 terms. Right? So I don't know the exact years. Right? So my point is that we can't, and it goes back to what you're saying, it doesn't matter who. Because at one time it was
right.
Now it's there across the board.
I just think if there's a stumbling block, then it needs to be explained. I think we constantly get to this point, and I agree with you. He should be honored by the country of his birth in more ways than one. He should have things named after him, and well, Somerset's given him a road, but he should have things done.
He should be knighted.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that documentary done by BBC that was aired on Saturday, it shed some light. Now young people in this country understand that son of the soil has been a global leader in opening up not just for footballers but for people of color around the world in anything to do with.
From little Bermuda.
Because we talk about sports moves and makes noise in so many different ways, and here it is, a guy from Bermuda leaves here when he's 19, goes out there, or 18.
I think he was younger,
yeah, goes out there, has to endure so much that I know
chanting.
Today
Death threats.
people will react totally different.
Oh, of course.
And the one thing that even in it, and Clyde actually makes comment that, he thanked the guys around him who welcomed him in, and gave him the confidence to stay the course of just, you want to, and Clyde says, you want to shut him up, put the ball in the back of the net.
Yes.
Eventually they'll stop criticizing and they'll start supporting. So he followed that guideline for many years, and he still talks about it today.
Yeah.
I just think that if we're serious about anything, the time to get serious is right now.
I agree. So I give credit to Brenton Robinson and those gentlemen that set forth to give him that opportunity to be nice with it,
Mm.
and look at it, because again they came in that arrow with him,
Mhm,
and they understood it. It should be done,
Right.
right? It should be done because he has opened up the
Yeah.
floodgates of
Yeah.
what he has accomplished
Yeah.
in Bermuda. I mean, you ever think of a person in Bermuda that has that much clout?
Well,
Come
let's
on, man.
let's put it like this. And it is no secret that we bend over backwards for anyone outside of Bermuda that is coming to Bermuda to do anything. We open our doors up, we open the shutters up, we open the windows up.
For
But
sure.
the minute we get somebody in Bermuda that has done something global, oh well, that's just so and so from Donny Road. So yeah, he's all right. He's cool. We don't need to stop him. We don't need to say anything to him. That's just Clyde.
That's just fine. This is our nature.
Yeah, yeah. But then when something of this nature happens, now BBC has brought out this documentary with Harry Redknapp and all, the books and all have come out. And now all of a sudden everybody's interested. Tomorrow there will be no more interest in it.
And you
Because
say
that's how we
say
treat,
from the local perspective.
yeah,
Okay.
because that's how we treat our own.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
No, I got
So
you.
so now picture this. And this is no slight on anyone or any organization. The Liverpool Football Club in Bermuda, we're going to have John Barnes, Sean Goda, and Clyde Bass
Correct.
doing a talk.
Right.
Everybody was more concerned in listening to John Barnes than they were to Clyde Bass or Sean.
Good.
John Barnes wanted to hear Clyde Bass.
Yes. And you're absolutely right. Because you know why? John Barnes has stated, if it weren't for Clyde Bass,
Thank you.
I wouldn't have played for Liverpool or got an opportunity to play in the English Football League.
So there you go. That's the outside look at us as trailblazers. We look at ourselves and always want to bring ourselves down because we think less of ourselves.
And you know why they say, well, listen to Clyde, not Clyde, John Barnes as opposed to Clyde? Because John Barnes won the league. That's the spirit way.
Yeah.
Won the league.
Yeah.
But you don't understand. In order for John Barnes to win the league, a path was set by Clyde Bass.
Years earlier, and he endured. Clyde would have endured what these guys are going through now and getting ready to walk off the field and all that for.
That's what Clyde.
Clyde
By himself.
Clyde had that and tenfold more. Because nowadays people have come around. So you have I don't want to thumb it down, but you have a pocket of people that still think that way.
Oh yeah.
Openly. They still probably think that way behind closed doors, but openly you have a pocket of people that will consider those type of things. Because you had in MLS last week, you had a Jamaican player use some derogatory remarks, and the LA team supported their player who is openly gay.
Yeah.
They walked off the field.
That's right.
And they've received so much support. Now they took the points away from them. They gave the points to the other team, but I believe there's some talk about them forfeiting those points as well. But at some point in time, had that happened back in the day when Clyde was touching the ball and the monkey chants and throwing stuff and all that, if those West Ham players would have decided to walk off the field, how much further would we be alone?
Good point. Well, it wasn't even thought of.
Yeah, to walk off the field.
No.
Because it was only one or two people that were openly public like that, like Clyde, that was enduring it. So in all, they were saying, well, they ain't doing it to us, so we just have to help him deal with it. But if the stance was taken, listen, our home fans, he is one of us. And if you're going to treat him like that, then you know what? We don't want you as fans, or we'll walk off the field.
And in all fairness, it's education of today.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's education of today. So that's why, not just in football, but in all sports, right? That's why the BLM, Black Lives Matters, in sports, hit a point where it hit globally, right? And I'm saying globally. Therefore, it made a major impact from all sports, right? From Formula One racing, to cricket,
You're the
to
IOC
football,
president.
you name it.
You're the IOC president who was in Tokyo last week Friday, said he will support athletes who decide to take a knee at the Olympics. So you're going to the top, and the pinnacle of the game for a lot of people is the Olympics, and he is supporting athletes who decide to do that. Now,
So,
he didn't say on the podium. He just said to take a knee. Now, see, the podium they're still dealing with, because that's a separate issue. They actually have a rule that you can't protest on the podium, but you have organizations, including, as Donna mentioned, there's athletes commissions. They have also these other commissions that are rallying around having it kind of that Rule 50 thrown out. How successful it will be for the 2021 Olympics, I don't know. But I think what you will see is a lot of athletes expressing themselves, and they don't care if they probably won't care if they get fined or whatever. But they will be expressing themselves.
Or you know what they say? You gotta give me a medal on the podium. That's all right.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
Yeah.
It's okay if I can't raise my fist or get on my knee on the podium. That would just give me a medal.
Yeah.
It's fine, me, man. I'm making my stance known.
Well, could you imagine? Could you imagine the person that runs the 1 and 2, or the 2 and 4, and wins both gold, and the first time they go up and get it, and they protest, what they would do the second time? We're not airing it on TV, because that's what it will come down to. They'll block it.
Yeah, how much that?
They just won't have the medals. I can actually see them saying, okay, it's all right for you to protest, but you know how you have the medal presentations aired on during the games? Yeah. They won't air the medal presentations. That will be strategically cut out.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. The only things you'll get are pictures of the medal presentations. You will not get any live video of medal presentations, because that will be the fear factor.
Or just them crossing the line.
Yeah.
Saying this first game, first, second, third.
Yeah. But believe it or not, the medal presentation ceremonies are one of the brightest lights to any athlete who's on the podium, just to see your flag go up. Whether it's first, second, or third, but just to see your flag go up. And if you're first, to hear your national anthem. That is all part and parcel of how hard you work and you coming first. I'm pretty sure on Saturday, Flora, having won the World Cup event in Italy, she would have been immensely proud to see the Bermuda flag rise high, the national anthem, and then you had Tyler Smith competing right after that. So he would have been somewhere in the area hearing that, or even seeing that would have given him the inspiration to want to emulate that performance. And I think if if we all look at it, 26 out of 66, he would have overachieved, beat his expectations, because he was given that push and that extra stuff to make him feel like, listen, I can get my country behind me, just by doing this. But back to the Clyde, we need to make sure that everything that is due for this man is done
while he's alive.
Yeah.
While he's alive.
Yeah.
Don't say, when man is born, or give him this when he's born. Take him while he's here.
We seem to love to do that, though. We love to take you to the graveyard and then give you all the roses while we're putting you down. It's and I'm glad that we were able to do the naming of the runway at the stadium for Brian Melvin, because he's able to accept it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So these are the type of things that we need to do more of, to let the athletes and or anybody, it could be a musician, it could be anybody and anything. We need to honor these people when they are doing well and they're on the world stage, letting people know that we exist out here. You know what I mean? And we're not going to be a pushover. You know, we gave the Girl Cup team a special recognition at the sports awards and all that. So you're recognizing their achievements and all that. So we need to continue to recognize our achievers, both locally and abroad. You know what I mean? Because we have to honor our people, man. And only we can do it. See,
Only us.
only us. You can't wait for somebody else to do it.
Right. Just wanted to clarify one thing or add to it. When I said the Minister of Sport back then, I said it was Randy Horton. It could have been Randy Horton, Dennis Lister.
I think Dennis Lister was the minister when you were talking about that.
So, again, one of those two.
Yeah.
So let's take a commercial break and pay some bills and be back after this. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. You know, as we were doing the commercial break just now, I was just reflecting on times have changed so much from the days when Adolf Hitler wouldn't acknowledge Jesse Owens when he won the 100 meters in Germany, to Clyde Best days. And that comes all through education, right? And I say that to say that stuff like this needs to be taught in our schools. It needs to be taught in the education system. The stories of Clyde Best and Jesse Owens, I can't speak for Jesse Owens, but especially Clyde Best, that should be in classes, right? In history classes, right? And things like that. So, and you can reflect on that and look at that,
right?
And say, wow.
Listen, the same way the sports world respects number 42.
Yo, you're talking about Jackie Robinson.
Yeah. We should be respecting number 9.
In Bermuda.
Yeah.
Well, the world.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Simple as that. That is the respect level that we should be going through. You know, there was, I think, last season, every Major League Baseball team wore the number 42 on the hat.
And that's been going on now for quite some time, right?
But that's the respect level that the league has for what he was able to accomplish.
Yeah.
We ourselves in our sports, in our sport of the national sport of football, should be looking to do something similar to honor Clyde Best.
Annually. So then, okay, I get your point. So your point is this: during the football season, that all clubs on a Saturday, because the game may be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on that weekend, sure, we're number 9. I get where your point is, right? And did they have the number Robinson, the name Robinson? That was,
no, it's just the number 2. 42 because it was on a circle.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we need to wear all 9 across. In our case, it would be the Premier Division and First Division.
Yeah.
Right, from the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And just name it the Clyde Best weekend of football. Simple as that.
You're my support that. I think we can look into that, Mr. Bates, and let's hit up our good friend, Mr. President, and have him on and discuss that. That's a good topic, I think.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, man.
I don't have a problem with that. We can make a lot of suggestions, but we have to know that there are people in positions, such as what you showed me or what you read out, that don't always feel the same way we do.
And you're right, and you're absolutely correct,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why people like you, me, and others keep
You keep knocking on the door. You keep
knocking,
you
right?
keep you keep the pressure on, and it's a good pressure, because at the end of the day, you're looking for something positive. You're not looking for anything negative. You're looking for something positive.
Exactly.
You want to have someone who has done so much for the world, and we are part of the world,
That's right.
to be recognized in the country of their birth. Simple as you can't get. Listen, it can't get no easier than that.
You're right, man. It's totally amazing.
Listen, we now live in a society where we can have our name out there in many different ways in many different sports. Um, you have Nikki Wells playing in the English Championships, right? Um, Pretty much Nikki is a household name in the teams of the championship, because he's now scored against every team that's playing the championship.
Correct.
So we, the same way, and I'm not even saying on the same level or all that, but the same way the Bermuda Tourism Authority is using Flora Duffy as a person that is highlighting the country marketing, we could be using Nikki for marketing in the UK. Okay, we have other athletes.
Yes.
Huh?
You market Clyde Best.
Right, and the same thing, right? You have athletes that are doing other sports in other parts of the world. We should be using them as marketing tools to when they're out doing a talk or out doing have on the Bermuda gear. These are things that okay, yeah, it's going to cost us. It's going to pay give people some money, and it's going to cost us some money. But there are people that's able to send the message. We're not bringing in somebody to model that don't even know where South Shore is, unless you take them.
It's true. That's true.
Absolutely. We have models in Bermuda. We have actresses and actors in Bermuda. We have singers, entertainers. But we decide we're going to spend money on somebody outside the country, because that's what we decide. We look down on ourselves and we accept it. Oh yeah, okay, no problem.
It's funny. So why can't we just put together in our business? You can do a 30, 60, or 90-second, a 2-minute video. Imagine having on Philadelphia, Clyde Best, Nikki Wells, and Sean Doyle right now.
Yeah. Well, the people, but see, no, we can think of that and we could put it together, but then the people that have the funding to do the marketing for that wouldn't even touch it. Wouldn't even touch it. You know why?
And why is that?
Because it weren't their idea.
I know you're telling me the truth.
Yeah.
It's not about idea.
And it's not. Listen,
about using your marketing tool.
It's not even rocket science. These people are living the lives that everybody wants to emulate, not just Bermudians.
True. Talk sport. They show this every day, right? You know how many times they talk about Clyde Best on that show?
I would guarantee you probably 3 times a month.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's global.
That's global.
Yeah.
Right. That station is 24/7 global.
When Sterling was going through his problems.
Yeah, Raheem.
Right. Clyde Best's name came up in every conversation that they were having during that period of time.
What's that tell you?
Yeah.
And he's from Jamaica.
Yeah.
Originally.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. Right. Wow. That tells you something right there, right?
It does. We have to start thinking more of ourselves and allowing ourselves to express ourselves and not be penalized for telling somebody what is wrong, because that's the problem. If I go out and say, well, you know what, I'd rather you use Don Bassett than use somebody from the States to do a commercial, because I can ask Don a question about anything and not have to ask him, do you know where this is? Do you know where that is? People come here to do modeling, right? And they have to be told where to go, what to do, taken everywhere. When you already got these people here, and we have models that are abroad doing it.
Mhm.
So why not bring it in back, or figure out when they're coming back and hire them to do?
It's out of product.
Yes.
No, you're right. I
Yes.
agree there. I totally agree.
So,
It's amazing. That's
Wow.
Let's take our last commercial break for the day, and we take it up. Yeah, anytime I caught you off guard. Your idea, mate. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, I'll wrap up, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. But it's just amazing. I'm gonna talk to our good friend, the president.
Okay.
Yeah, see what he's saying on that. And interesting to see. Imagine that happening, man. For the Clyde Best weekend, Premier and First Division all players were nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll take a commercial break, and we'll be back after this to wrap up.
Yeah, it's all laid out. Don't touch it.
There you go. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. I want to thank our guest that joined us today is Shakira Warner, the Vice President, Population Health Specialist for the August Group. Dion Smith and Ross Caesar. Absolutely focused. As you know, they're supposed to have their event this year in the bodybuilding NCP Worldwide Caribbean Grand Prix Bermuda Pro Qualifier. Obviously, post-COVID-19 had other ideas.
Yeah.
And of course, we'll thank Donna Rayner giving us an update on the cross-country and event of CRIFTA 2021 and talks was happening later this fall. December. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, great topic regarding Clyde Bass and other great athletes in Bermuda. Hopefully one day he's knighted while he's alive and well.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone deserves it, it's Clyde, and it's about time.
Way overdue. Way overdue. All right. Thank you very much, sir. See you next week.
Alrighty.
Mr. Bassett.
It's all right.
Hey, enjoy your day, mate.
Thank you very much.
Your holiday came your way.
2 weeks are gone.
You
You need more time.
need more time. You got more time. You got about another 10 or 15 days. You.
It's all good.
It's all good. Cool, bro.